Hello, we're here today to talk about Moka5 and remote workers. Now, remote workers, what are they? Well, mobile workers, they're kind of guys that they're out, they're moving around, and then they come and touch down in the office occasionally. But remote workers are something different. These are people who never come into the organization. They work from home, maybe they're in an offshore location, or in my example, I actually do all of my work from a secure bunker, which is in an inactive volcano. Now, what we're seeing is this trend is increasing in organizations. And there's lots of benefits, which is why that's happening. So the organization benefits from reduced cost of the workspace, right? So obviously if I'm sat in my volcano, they don't need to pay for a chair for me to go and sit in the office. They also don't need to heat it or cool it, any of those kinds of things. Studies show that I can be more productive if I'm working from home. In my volcano, my commute is simply between my silk-sheeted bedroom and my desk, which is in a vaulted arch. That's very different from having to do a commute down the 101 for an hour and a half. So obviously that's more time and can be more productive. And then of course, the entire organization occasionally can use this solution for, hazard days, say a snow day. I think organizations generally lose somewhere between 4 and 8 days a year for each of their employees to some kind of hazard day. If you could easily work from home, that would help you in this circumstance. And it's not just the organization that benefits, the employee does as well. Studies show that if you work from home, you're happier too. I certainly know that I am. So let's have a look at the trouble that IT has with this and a better way to move forward. So in the old IT model, the way that we dealt with this was we couldn't trust the user's home machine. So we'd take a corporate box and put our corporate build on it. We'd have to FedEx it to the user, and then we'd have to deal with the problems of management and end of life in getting that machine back. It was a very, very complicated and costly affair. So really that hasn't worked for the remote worker use case. So what we really need is we need a solution which is secure, a solution which is manageable, and a solution that enables this type of working. And there is such a solution, and it's called VDI. So VDI enables you to have your corporate desktop running in the infrastructure, and then people just connect into it, right? So this seems like a tailor-made solution for the remote worker. Except there are some downsides, right? So obviously, they've probably got a machine at home, which is perfectly capable, but in reality, you're duplicating all of that processing power in your data center. You're having to pay for that. Remember we said we were saving on costs of someone sitting in a chair? Now you're having to air condition a big server that's sat in a room somewhere. It's online only, so if you're in a situation where you've got high latency or low bandwidth, you're going to hit trouble. I'm a guy who's working for a company in India. I hit the X key. My X has to travel all the way around the world to Arizona, be changed into a screen, and then get sent all the way back to the guy in India. Needless to say, this leads us to the last problem, which is poor user experience. Even if I'm in a good latency environment, I'm still going to get 256 colors, and it's going to look like a cartoonish representation of a desktop instead of a full-blown desktop solution. So yes, we believe that we want a secure, manageable, and enabling technology, but VDI maybe has some downsides. Now let's talk about Moka5. Okay, so Moka5 is a containerization company. So we do work with virtual machines, that's one of our main technologies, but basically we put everything in a container, which is what makes us different. So what we do is we take your OS and app stack, we wrap it into a VM and put a container around it. Then we copy it down to an end user's endpoint where it runs locally, uses their CPU, memory, their networking, right? So that's great, you could do that today though using any other solution, but Moka5 has a command and control console that enables you to continue to manage, continue to enforce policies over that VM. Now, remember we talked about those three things that we needed to achieve. The first one was security. The container itself is encrypted with AES 256. It's actually gated on your AD username and credentials. So that means that you cannot get into it from the host. It's completely separate from the host. Of course, it's a VM, so the execution is basically like two machines running side by side on the same hardware, and there the twain shall meet. There are certain points of interaction, but those are controlled by the policy set. We have over 130 policies that are dynamically controllable from that command console. So you can decide what you want them to be when you send them out, and if you want to change them down the road, you can. two last very important things from a security point of view. If I want to revoke access, I can do that via Moka5. The user's VM is grayed out, they're not allowed to get into it. Or I can kill it. Maybe someone's up to no good, I don't want them to be able to access anything, and I don't want them to be able to decrypt the disk if they're doing like a brute force attack. I can just kill it. When the kill pill comes down, gone from the machine. It zeroes out the bits. So we're very secure. Now let's talk about management. Okay, so management. So the first thing that we talked about that was a problem in the old world was provisioning. Shipping out via FedEx, this big old clunky machine, right? Now with Moka5, you can easily provision on network. We have a self-provisioning portal. The user can go there, simply log in and copy down the VM. So it's a touchless provisioning experience as far as the IT admin is concerned, which makes it very, very easy. Very, very easy means very, very cheap from an operating expenditure point of view. We like that a lot. Now, if you're in a situation where maybe you have low bandwidth and you wouldn't be able to download a container of several gigs, no problem. We can provision via a USB key. It's a secure provisioning model. User simply plugs this into the site, double click. It will not only install the Moka5 software, but also copy across the container locally. So an easy provisioning model with two different options. But once it's there, we need to be able to keep it up to date. If a security patch comes out, or how do I get that onto the user's machine? Now today, if you're using traditional tools like SCCM or BigFix, there is a model, but you have to have a complicated infrastructure. This is built into the Moka5 system. What you can do is you can produce snapshots or disk level deltas by installing once and then push out that snapshot to the endpoint. When the user reboots, they have your security fix or update. Very, very easy, very, very effective. That installer only has to run once to create the snapshot. Much simpler than running on 100, 1,000, 10,000 endpoints. That's where installers run into trouble. Another fringe benefit to Moka5's layering solution is the fact that we have break fix. Now, what does that mean? Well, actually it's a big problem for remote workers. If someone's machine gets broken and they're in a remote location, what are my options? How do I get them up and running? Maybe they went to a Russian file sharing site and thought they were downloading the latest corporate spreadsheet for sales. Turns out that actually it was a virus. Suddenly their entire machine starts melting, right? In that situation, what do? Well, I, the user, have to box up my machine, send it back to the company. The IT guy mounts the drive, gets my data off, then he reformats the machine, puts my data back on, puts my personality and apps back on, and sends it back to me. In the meantime, I'm sat twiddling my thumbs in my volcano. So Moka5 has a different model. In Moka5, the user can self-heal, they can rejuvenate. So you simply click the rejuvenation button as the end user, and you're set back to the last known corporate good. In other words, a good model from the admin that was pushed down to you. So it's a great way to move forward. And then the last thing we talk about is offboarding. So with offboarding, we've already talked about the kill switch. If you have someone who's come on board, worked for a while, and maybe they're a contractor, they're going off project after 3 months, kill, and it will simply remove it from their machine without a trace. All very cool. So remember, we talked about a secure solution, we talked about a manageable solution, but enablement is the key. And what we do is we enable that, but with an excellent user experience. If your user wants to watch 1080p training videos, they can. If they want to do VoIP within the container, they can. These are traditionally big problems for something like a VDI solution. With local execution, that's not the case. You've got high latency, low bandwidth, Moka5 will work offline. If you want to take it on your laptop and go on the plane, no problem. You can still work on your cached email, on Word documents, on Excel. You still have your desktop traveling with you. And the big thing is that the total cost of ownership is drastically different. In the old model, you'd start by paying for laptops. In the VDI model, you shift that cost into the data center. In Moka5, one of our management servers will control 14,000 endpoints. And when I say servers, I want to make it clear it's a commodity server, like a $3 machine. In fact, you don't even need hardware. Just put it on an ESX VM. It doesn't cost anything. So you're not paying for the endpoint, you're not paying for the infrastructure, all you're doing is paying us. So, secure, manageable, and great enablement. Not too bad, huh? So if you're considering remote worker enablement, don't delay, call today. The future's bright, the future's Moka5. Thank you.